Hi, I'm Don, and this is The Hobbyist Geek. Welcome back! Today is exciting. We're going to be starting on pack 5 of our Build the Terminator project. And I gotta tell you, the last pack was incredible. And what we ended up with was amazing. I mean, just look at this guy. He's huge, and he's starting to look really, really cool. So what do you think? You think pack 5 is gonna continue with the left arm? We're gonna finish off the head, maybe continue with the torso? What do you think we're gonna do this time around? I'll tell you what, why don't we crack it open and let's see what we got. And here are the parts we get with stage 41. We have a vertebra spindle, a vertebra casing deeper, and a vertebrae casing shallower. And you can tell they're definitely different sizes here. We've got an actual vertebra, and this is the smaller, and this is the larger. This is the small, and this is the larger. This is a vertebrae connector, and then some screws and spring washers. All right, first up we're gonna assemble the connector here. So we're gonna take this piece, and you can see there's a bit of a dip in there, and we're gonna take the shallow one of these with the open end, not the closed end, the open end facing up, and just throw that in just like this. We're gonna take the spindle, and that'll go right through, long side first, just like this. Then we're gonna cover it with the casing, just like so. Now we're gonna bring out the beast, and right down here is a perfect port for the assembly we just put together. And you can notice, these are all equidistant, it's the same design. As for the position of the spindle itself, I'm not sure that it actually matters at this point, but the instructions do show this little notch here facing directly forward, so that's how we're gonna do it. And then we basically just slide it in like that. And with 4 screws and washers, we will lock it in place. And there you go. Stage 41 is complete. Looks like the vertebrae are going to be used in a later stage, so let's move on to the next one. All right, here are the parts we get with stage 42. We have more vertebrae, smaller, medium, larger. Woo. We also have a spinal cord. This thing here actually is flexible, pretty stiff too. I like it. I like it a lot. I also noticed that the threads on one side are smaller than the threads on the other, and the larger threads are actually keyed. You got flat edges on either side. So definitely going to want to make sure we assemble this correctly. All right, here we are going to assemble the spinal column, and you can see we've brought back the 2 pieces of vertebrae from the last issue, and they are in order from smallest to largest, and it's really just a matter of stacking the next size up right on top, just like that. Not a big deal. There is some wobble, but that's the way it's supposed to be. Now with this thing, you're going to want to insert it so that the smaller threading is at the top once it's all together, just like that. Okay, and now we want to bring out the big guy. All right, with the big guy back out here, we'll get our vertebrae, and we're gonna screw this end here right into there. What's important to note is that in this case, you want to tighten it by turning it counterclockwise, not clockwise, at least according to the instructions. So let's see if this works. Okay, so we got it nice and tight, and what's really interesting though is that in order to tighten it, I actually had to turn it clockwise as you would typically expect. Just to show you, there's the instructions, and it clearly shows you're supposed to twist it counterclockwise. So I don't understand why they did that. But in any event, we have our spinal column attached. And here are the parts we get with stage 43. We have 2 pieces of pelvic frame right, as well as 2 pelvic plates. This is right and left. And then we've got some screws here, 2 different types of screws, along with some M2 nuts. All right, first up, we're going to take the right pelvic plate, and you can tell it is the right because it's got a little bit of an R right on there. So easy enough. And we'll pull out the frame here, and in this orientation, it's going to slide in like this. So it should look just like that. We use a 4mm screw there to hold it in place. There you go. All right, for this next part, we're going to attach these 2 parts together. If you take a look over here, you can see a couple places where you can put in the nuts, the hex nuts there. And there's some indentations on this side. On this piece, you can see there's 2 very small posts right here. So those are going to fit in just like that. So we're going to do the nut on this side and a 6mm screw on the other to hold everything in place. All right, and there you go. Looking nice. And that is, I believe, the end of this stage. Let me double check here, and sure enough, that's it. That's the end of stage 43. And here we have the parts for stage 44. We've got the pelvic girdle right side. That looks cool. And we have the pelvic girdle detail for the right side. And we got a whole mess of screws here. We got some 4mm screws, both silver and black, as well as some 6mm screws. All right, step 1, we're going to attach this pelvic frame to this pelvic girdle here. And if you flip it over, you can see there's a couple of posts right here. You can see this little outlier, that's for this. On the back side, you can see there are a couple of holes here for these posts to go in. So we'll just throw it in, push it into those posts. Everything else should line up and go in, and it should, when done, fit flush. And we're going to throw some 6mm screws into this hole and this hole. Look at that. All right, now we're going to continue attaching this by using the silver 4mm screws. We're going to put them here, 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 and here. All right, look at that. I really don't think that thing's going anywhere. All right, for the final part of this stage, we're going to take this little detail piece right here, and you'll notice there's a little hole here. That's going to go over this post. And you're going to want to make sure that all of this lines up with this hole here. So it should go in something like this. And what we're going to want to do here is we're going to use a black 4mm screw here and another of the silver 4mm screws all the way down through here and into the frame. All right. And with that attached, that actually finishes stage 44. And here are the parts we get with stage 45. Looks like we're going to start replicating everything we did on the right side for the left side of the pelvis. We do have something new here. Of course, these are simply labeled pelvic girdle detail right and left. So, not sure where they're going to go, but let's see what we got. All right, and as expected, most of this stuff is exactly what we did on the right side, so we're just going to go ahead and skip that part for now, and we're going to go right into this. We're going to take off this detail part, and you can tell it's got a little R on there, so no big deal. And you've got this little gap here, and you've got these raised portions here. This is going to go on the outside, just like this. Okay, there we go. So it should sit in nice and secure and flush. And guess what? We gotta glue it. We almost made it through a whole pack without glue, or at least half a pack without glue, but here we go with the glue again. So we'll go ahead and do this off camera. And there you go. That's what it's gonna look like once it's been secured into place. And then the rest, we're gonna start building the frame for the left side of the pelvis. If you need help, you can look back in the earlier stage for the right side. And here we are with the frame for the left side of the pelvis. All complete, and we can move on to the next stage. And here are the parts we get with stage 46. And you guessed it, it's everything we need to replicate the right pelvis and complete the left pelvis up to the same state. So, and here we are with a left side to the pelvis. So now we have two pelvi, maybe? I don't know. Let's see what happens next. And here are the parts we get with stage 47. We have the pelvic frame rear section, the pelvic frame, a lower panel of the pelvis, and a whole mess of screws in both 4 and 6 millimeter sizes. All right, we're gonna kick things off by taking this pelvic panel and this pelvic frame, we're gonna fit them together. You notice that there are several posts, and those posts have some pretty big holes here, and it should being the operative word, slide right in. There you go, just like that. And we're gonna use 4 of the 4 millimeter screws to hold it in place. All right, look at that. Nice, neat, and easy. Next up, we're gonna take this part of the frame. We take a look, there's a couple of divots here, and we've got 2 posts right here. So this thing's just gonna fit together just like that. And we're gonna throw some 6 millimeter screws in to hold it in place. And then we'll be done. Would you look at that? Looking pretty? And we're done with stage 47. And here are the parts we get with stage 48. We have a pelvic frame and a pelvic shield right side, along with a mess of screws. We got 4 millimeter screws, we got 6 millimeter screws, we got 2 millimeters wide, we got 3 millimeters wide. We got all kinds of screws. I can't wait to see how this goes together. All right, we're gonna kick this off with the pieces we assembled in the last few issues. This is the right pelvis. This is obviously the center frame here. Take a look, you can see you've got these little tabs sticking out on this side. And over here, you got some holes right there. So we just line the tabs up with the holes, push them into place, make sure those screw holes line up, and it is good. And then we're gonna take this puppy here, and we're gonna line it up like this, and we're gonna make sure that this little curved section, slightly curved section, is facing towards, I guess, the top if you're holding it in this orientation. And again, 2 tabs, 2 slots, slide it right in. Should be nice and neat, just like this. And then we take the left side of the pelvis, and we just throw it all together so that we are left with this. All right, we're gonna kick off the screws with these 3x8s, and we've got 4 holes here, 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 and we're gonna throw a screw in all 4 of them. Look at that. Okay, now we're gonna come towards the front here and deep down inside, right here. And we got another one on the other side right there. We're gonna throw in 2 of those 4 millimeter screws. There we go, just like that. All right, we're gonna flip the pelvis upside down. We're gonna take a look for this little hole right here and this one here. And we're gonna throw in some more of those larger 3x8 screws to hold it in place. All right, look at that. All right, now we're gonna apply the pelvic shield here, and you can take a look on the right side. You've got this post, you got this poof. Underneath the shield, you've got this hole, and you've got this hole. So, you know, do a little test fit, make sure that they slot in properly and that this lines up correctly. But if so, little super glue, and we'll hold the shield in place. And there you go, fully assembled stage 48. And I'm a little curious because we've got these extra 6mm screws here. Didn't use any of them. Not sure what they're for. Maybe we'll find out later. And here we have the parts for stage 49. We have us a left pelvic shield, and I think we all know where that's going. We have another pelvic plate and 2 pelvic sockets along with a couple of screws. All right, after super gluing the left shield in place, you'll notice that you got these little sockets here with a little slot coming out. Well, you got these sockets here, and if you take a look on the post, there's a little slot coming out. So they are keyed, they'll only fit one way, they'll slide right in, and you hold it in place with one of the screws that came with this stage, and do the same for the other side. All right, and with both of those in place, you can take this pelvic plate. Notice there's a little curve to it right there. And notice you got this raised lip on the other side here. So it should slot in. Do a little test fit, make sure it's nice and clean. And if it is, little super glue, shove it right in. And there you have it. Another piece of pelvis done. And that is the end of stage 49. Okay, y'all, here are the final pieces for this pack. For stage 50 here, we have us a pelvic plate, another one, a connection plate, and then we got a lot of screws, a lot of nuts, and then one big nut that I am guessing is for the spinal cord. Let's read on and see what happens. All right, we're gonna kick things off by bringing the big guy out here, and sure enough, this plate here is gonna go on the spinal cord. Now, it's important that we get the orientation on this thing right. So you'll notice that there are basically 3 walls here with an open area. Holding it in this orientation with the big guy facing upwards here, that open wall is gonna be facing towards you, so that when you're ready, you can flip it up like this, okay? But first you gotta prep this area, and that's where you're gonna take these smaller nuts, hex side first, and you're gonna toss them in here into each one of these slots. All right, and with a hex nut in each one of those slots, here's the part that's gonna be kind of fun, because I'm not sure exactly how we're supposed to do this without causing problems, but basically, I just bent this spinal cord down a little bit. Hopefully gravity will help a bit. You're gonna slide this puppy in without dislodging any of those nuts. All the way up the spinal cord as far as it'll go. And then we've got this big puppy, and that'll slide on. We'll want to tighten it as much as we can. We don't want to over tighten it, but make sure it's a very secure hold here. All right, y'all. So I finally have this thing on here. I gotta tell you, it would be a heck of a lot easier with a proper nut driver, but I don't typically bring my nut drivers out for your model building. It's a bit of a big tool for that. That said, I also had to use the hated super glue to get the nuts to stay in place while I was screwing that in. You know how much I hate glue, so you know how much it pains me to admit I had to use it to solve the problem. But it's in, It's ready to rock and roll, and we can move on to the next step. Alright, this next bit's going to be fun. You can see way down there, you got 4 big screw holes. Right there, and there. Well, they're going to line up with the screw holes that you put nuts in earlier. And we're going to use these big screws here to hold it in place. All right, and there you go. A nice, securely attached pelvis. But we are not done yet. For the final part, you want to flip the big guy over, and you'll notice you got these 4 holes here, and you got this final plate with 4 posts on it. And that should just slide right in, and it should be a friction fit. So no need for glue for this one. We'll just press it in nice and tight. And there you go. And that actually completes pack 5. And here you go, y'all. This is what the looks like after pack 5 here. And he's getting so big, it's getting much harder to show the whole thing on camera here. I gotta say, I'm a little concerned about this spine here. That spine was pretty easy to bend with my bare hands. I don't think it's got enough tensile strength to hold up the entire upper body. And these are just brittle plastic. And I don't see any spot on the pelvis, at least not the way it currently is, for additional supports here. So I don't think this guy is going to be able to stand on his own or even really maintain much of a pose without proper supports. I guess we'll find out as the build goes on. But he does look good, and that is the end of pack 5. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.